Cleantech TV is talking with principals of the Wesley Group at the Cleantech Forum. You've just announced that a second fund with significant revenues has come together to form one of the largest cleantech investment holdings and managed by the Wesley Group. Just how significant is this?
We're excited. We wanted to announce our second fund. We've raised $160 million to invest in firms we think will change the world in clean technology. We're very proud to come into this with a lot of momentum. 4 of our firms have gone public to date, but a lot of people aren't sure about the clean tech environment. What we've announced today is that 3 of the better known firms in the world, E.ON, one of the 10 largest utilities in the world from Germany, coming together with Citibank in the US, and the SK Group, which is the 3rd largest conglomerate in Korea, have invested in our fund. This makes us one of the larger clean tech funds in the United States, and we think there are great opportunities out there.
The Wesley Group has played a pivotal role in advancing clean technology at the global level through a finely crafted yet broad spectrum of timely investments. What has been the driver of your portfolio choices?
Thank you, Sidney. I would say that one of the reasons we've been successful and have strong momentum is our belief in a couple of concepts, and one is the importance of strategic partnerships. Steve already referred to some of the largest corporations in the world, and it's also important to note that they're international. So the clean tech business is inherently global, and it's also, a portion of it is also capital intensive. So our global partners are also deep-pocketed, and in addition, one of our new partners, Citi, is of course one of the world's largest financial institutions. And one of their goals is to provide debt financing to our portfolio companies and/or to their customers. So that addresses one of the needs that we see and that will help grow the sector.
Around the world, clean technology is perceived generally as a critical component to a sustainable global economic future. Yet here in the U.S., we're still struggling to achieve that informed critical mass of acceptance. What are the keys to changing this in the U.S. moving forward?
You know, I think one of the areas that we talk about are watching analog industries move into digital industries. Mm-hmm. So what happened to photography? What happened to advertising? And we see the same thing in some sectors of clean tech. Building energy efficiency is one of these things where we talk about people, you should think about your building like an iPhone, not an analog building. So how do you bring technologies into that building that allow it to communicate, then to optimize performance, and to really allow that building to come alive? So those are some of the areas that, with regards to energy efficiency, that we see. But there's certain other areas like solar or wind where we see some changes going on as well. But ultimately, it's how do you get people to think about things with little, let's say, limits around them. Some people think you can only do so much to make a building better. This used to be just a phone, and look how much it's evolved. And we want to do the same thing with some of these sectors. As prices are coming down for things like solar, the industries are starting to explode because now solutions are much cheaper, much more affordable, and have great ROIs. So probably first and foremost is making sure a lot of our solutions have less than a 24-month payback.
You know, I would love to do that. Let me just dial back to the last question just for a minute, because I think when they write the history of the clean tech space, I think there's going to be a few inflection points. I think we've seen a few already. One was Tesla. When we invested in them, maybe 20, 30 people in the company in a small office in Santa Carlos, felt like any other startup. Now you see over 2,000 employees. This year they may do as much as, I think, 1.7, 1.8 billion in revenues, projecting to ship 20,000 cars. It's a small idea that's become mainstream in America, and it's just fundamentally reshaping how people think of cars. Solar City, similar event, right in the midst of kind of the economic recession, and yet here's this firm that's done so well, up 50% since the IPO. I think people are beginning to see that industry after industry is being fundamentally reshaped. So we're pleased to be at the Clean Tech event here in San Francisco to say, look, we've raised one of the larger funds in the country in clean tech, 160 million. We have 7 investment professionals, offices in Silicon Valley and in China, focus on B and C round clean tech companies. So we're not looking at the real early stage, we're looking at firms that have revenues and real customers. That's when we like to come in and drive the companies to success. But Mike, Gary, what would you add to things we're looking for?
Well, I would say that we're looking in energy efficiency, certainly, building-oriented energy efficiency. We're looking at smart grid applications, both sides of the meter, both utility scale energy storage, as well as energy storage in the customer, on the customer premise. Those are two of the areas that we're spending a lot of time in. People talk about the clean web, which is a very capital light way to invest. Many people have heard of Uber, and there are other similar asset sharing mechanisms that the clean web facilitates.
Yeah, this clean web, this intersection of clean tech, sustainability, and internet, we think we're just in the very beginning of the first inning on that. And we think you're going to see companies there with fantastic business models, the potential to really make some spectacular investments in some world-changing technologies. And our job's to find them, and we think we have the team to help do that.
Wesley Group provides what to many is seen as visionary leadership in the clean tech space. How'd that come about? And how will you apply this to the challenges ahead?
Steve and I were at eBay relatively early on, and you knew that e-commerce was going to change the world. You weren't sure what part eBay was going to play in it, but you knew that was coming. It was a wave, and we were fortunate to kind of sit on the crest of that to see how it evolved. We see a very similar type of progression with clean tech. And although it's a bit out of favor right now, we really do believe it's starting to scale back up. And I think the ability to raise this fund right now is demonstrating some of the smarter companies in the world are starting to re-engage in this space.
But by the way, I just have to tell the story. Gary, I remember this. I still remember vividly being at eBay. People say, well, it sounds really fun, but when are people really ever going to buy anything over the internet? I just don't see it. And we were saying, well, we're selling about 500,000 items a day, but people still didn't quite believe it. I feel that's kind of where we are in clean tech. I talk to people all the time saying, who's really going to buy an electric car? I drive a Tesla. It's the most transformational product I've ever driven. Now with Solar City, and Mike's one of the very early investors in Solar City, I think everybody's beginning to see, with the right financing, virtually 3/4 of the country can have solar. That's transformational. When you think about maybe owning an electric car, having solar on your roof, and never paying a penny for gas or electricity again, these are big concepts. That leads to big markets. That leads to huge returns for investors.
Here at Cleantech Forum San Francisco, we see the breadth and depth of corporate integration of clean technology into their strategic plans. What guidance can you give to executives who are trying to decide the when and how of getting on board?
Well, I think one of the telltale signs that it is evolving and scaling is that some of the larger players are starting to do a fair amount of mergers and acquisitions, M&A work. We see a number of our companies right now that are already being courted by some of the big players in the marketplace, like the Honeywells and JCIs and IBMs. And I think that also shows to that money is coming to the venture world again because they want to get on the edge of some of these technologies. They know it's critically important for them to stay in front of their field, and therefore they're putting time, resources, and making direct investments today. We had a firm that sold in December, and it was to Schneider Electric. They wanted to make sure they better understood wireless activity within buildings and how do you start to capture all this information. So to us, that's very encouraging to see the strategics really playing in the M&A world.
For clean tech entrepreneurs who have an honest track record and want to request a look from the Wesley Group for investment, what's their best approach?
It's easy, actually, to contact us through our website or by calling. We respond to every single inquiry. And the answer is not always yes. In fact, it's most often no, or we want more information, but that's the nature of our business. It's easy to get in touch with us. We are looking for companies that have significant barriers to entry, that have positive momentum, that have outstanding management teams, and that we believe can scale quickly to generate great returns.
I would just close by saying I think there's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. And we're frankly surprised. A lot of the firms have left the clean tech space. There are 5 or 6 of us that are not only surviving, we're thriving. So we look forward to seeing every business plan we can. We think there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there that are busy reshaping the future, and we want to help build great companies.
Thank you.
Thank you.